Military, it's your fault.
Right.
Take care of these men. Part of taking care of a man when he's in his early 20s is he needs to be around and socialize with the opposite sex. If you don't understand how that fits into mental health, you're not paying attention, because the studies and the science support what I'm saying.
So mental health, I really want to tap on this.
Yeah, for sure.
Whatever you're comfortable sharing, but did you have any struggles mentally?
I didn't, because there was the advent of social media, and I was the first guy messaging my friends on Facebook from Iraq. Like it was not even a thing. I really did a good job of keeping in touch with people back home, talking to my mom as much as I could. I would call into sports shows when I was deployed sometimes.
Really?
Yeah, I would get up in the middle of the night and call it. They would put me at the front of the line, and I'd call it and just talk to my favorite sports anchors. It was crazy. So that's what I would do back then. And then a lot of video games and a lot of jiu-jitsu and a lot of basketball. So I really didn't, I got to be honest with you. I feel a lot of empathy for them, but I can't, or I feel a lot of sympathy, but I can't empathize, because I was happy while I was in the military, and I was pretty happy when I got out, because I was like, hey man, I was in the military. I can use this on a job application.
But I think what you just said is so powerful, though, because you just named off a bunch of things. Jiu-jitsu, you had this thing of calling in the sports shows. Like you had all these like activities that you were doing where it was clear that you were surrounded by community and all of that. So that in itself is very telling of how you even prevent getting issues.
So on base, I was not the cool kid. I was not, because I was kind of a misfit, because I would go out all the time. Off base, I was the one everyone wanted to hang out with. So at parties at my place, whatever. And there's always a pilot that's like that. There's just like the crazy one. And I didn't drink. Some of these guys would drink you into the ground. Like some of these guys would drink you.
That's
to
half
death.
the problem for some people.
Yeah. So as far as the mental health thing, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. It is irresponsible for you to put a 18-year-old kid in Clovis, New Mexico. It is irresponsible. And I'm calling on the military for this. Stop building these fucking bases in places where there are no women. You can look up the studies. The stats are pretty clear. Men do not commit suicide when they are in a happy relationship with the opposite sex.
Wow.
When you put them in horrible situations where they live in Altus, Oklahoma, where they live in Clovis, New Mexico, I'm talking about the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then you're wondering why there's a fucking mental health issue. I will bet you that the suicide rate for people at Nellis is probably the lowest. Actually, the lowest will be Hickam. I will guarantee you nobody's taken their own life at Hickam Air Force Base.
Wow.
Not nobody. But Pearl Harbor, Hickam, you'll find that the suicide rate for some reason is lower, and the suicide rate for some reason when they're at fucking Altus Air Force Base is higher. Why is that? It's because you did. But Lawton, was it Fort? I forgot what the fort in Lawton, Oklahoma is. But it's like when you do this, you take a bunch of men at the prime of their testosterone, their peak testosterone levels, and you put them in a place where there's like 10 guys to every girl, and they're like being told what they can and cannot do, and then you're wondering why they're taking their own life.
Yeah.
Military, it's your fault.
Right.
Take care of these men. Part of taking care of a man when he's in his early 20s is he needs to be around and socialize with the opposite sex. If you don't understand how that fits into mental health, you're not paying attention, because the studies and the science support what I'm saying.
Wow.
Men are less depressed when they're around pretty girls on a regular basis. This is not earth-shattering science. So I don't know, I guarantee, look at the suicide rate for people at Los Angeles Air Force Base.
I'm actually dying to know. I'm going to look this up after the show. And
And you're going to probably find, wow, it's really, it's not that bad. It's funny, Andrews is not that bad. It's so crazy. Bowling Air Force Base, there's no suicides there. It's crazy.
Was it
I'm not saying none, by the way. Some people are going to get mad because they know someone who took their own life, whatever. But there's just a big difference between Columbus, Georgia, and Atlanta, Georgia. If you're at Dobbins Air Force Base. And that's my point is, give me something to do when I'm off work other than drink myself under the table and then get cheated on by my wife while I'm deployed. Give me something else to do.
Well, I mean, it's also going back to what we were just talking about a second ago, when they literally criminalize them having any kind of activity with women, where you've got commanders saying, okay, no talking to the local females, no, you can't have pictures of your wife. I mean, I literally got in trouble when I was over in Afghanistan because I had naked pictures of myself, and I got in trouble for having pictures of myself because I wanted to send them to a boyfriend of mine back home. And it's just those types of things where they've got to stop making it a criminal activity to just be a human.
Interesting. Yeah. That's an interesting one. When you're deployed, I think you got to get used to I don't know, jerking off in the shower, I guess. But when you're back home, I think it's fucking so irresponsible that we build these military bases in the most podunk ass towns you can imagine, and then wonder why these gentlemen want to take their own life.
But there's not even any outlet for them sexually. Sex is such an essential part of who we are as humans, right? And then they make it a bad thing for you to be masturbating. Bad thing. Remember the saltpeter? They used to give saltpeter.
No, what is that?
You know what saltpeter is. Come on, saltpeter. They used to give it to people in World War II and World War I. It's like literally like to stop them getting erections.
Oh, I didn't know about that. I thought the saltpeter was for a treatment for some disease. Okay, got
No,
it.
they would like it was standard issue. Take your saltpeter. You know, it's like to basically suppress no porn. You know, no sex, no local girls, none of that. That's why the issue of sexual assault's going up in the military, because they can't get it anywhere else. So they're going to try to get it from the girls that are in the military next to them.
It's a dirty little secret, but like no one would get into a debate with me about this because the numbers are going to favor what I'm saying. When you take young men and you put them in a place where there's just as many young women around them, you see less violence.
Yeah.
You see less crime. Men who are married are less likely to be violent criminals. Men who are having sex on a regular basis are less likely to suffer from depression. If I can show you data that shows this, why did you build a base in Clovis, New Mexico? Why? I don't like, do you understand? Like, that's my point. Why did you put one in Indian Springs, Nevada, Creech? Why did you put one 2 hours away from any kind of fun?
Yeah.
You did so because it was cheaper, because you could provide jobs to people in your state. But part of the thing is, from this point forward, this needs to stop. This taking young men and keeping them away from women for their entire like professional lives there is just not a good recipe for mental health. And it's so funny because we're looking at every other solution except the most obvious one. Why did they take their own life? Because their wife cheated on them. Why did they marry this slag in the first place? Because they didn't have any other choice, because they were at No Hope Pope, or they were at Fort Bragg, and there was like fucking 70 guys to every girl, and this was the only woman that they wanted to hurry up and get married right before they took off so their wife could get benefits, and then the woman ends up cheating on them because they have no abundance in their life.
Right.
But again, everything I'm saying is undeniable, but yet you will not hear the military take me on in some kind of debate about this. They'll be like, because they won't admit the reason why these people are taking their own life in a large part is because you put them in terrible situations with the opposite sex.